Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Alright, so I've got some fun Andor stuff to talk about today.
Okay.
Fun Andor stuff. First off, I found a report that talked about deleted scenes. Because we know all these projects, they go to the editing floor and they cut stuff and they take stuff out. Well, Andor Season 1 only had one deleted scene that was filmed and not included in the season. No, I don't know what it was, but I want it.
How do you not know what it was? How do you, tease us with that?
Well, it's just information I found. That
Okay.
it did have one scene that never made it.
I wonder why, one.
How was it? I'm glad it was only one. That means
Well,
everything
sure.
else was shot and deemed, that's efficient, right?
Well, that's efficient, yeah. It's just strange that it's, one. No, this scene we're cutting. Why? Did it maybe not make sense? When they were, editing? Oh, that kind of doesn't... Or it's really redundant or something? I don't know. Just curious.
And then Season 2 has no deleted scenes. Every single scene that was filmed was included in the final show. That is what Tony Gilroy had confirmed. I think that's fantastic.
Now we need to know what that one scene was.
We almost have the whole
Two seasons and
story.
you deleted one scene, but why?
What was it? What were you keeping from us? Alright, but then I found something else about one of your favorite characters.
I have a lot of favorite. Perrin?
Yeah.
Cyril? Okay, it's Perrin.
Well, it's
All
kind
right.
of like a little bit about Davos Skolden in a plot line, okay? In the final montage, we see Perrin kind of hanging out, looking drunk, having what looks to be some sort of
I think I've heard about this.
affair
Yeah.
with the wife of Davos Skolden, the gangster.
Is it an affair if your wife leaves to lead a rebellion and kind of leaves you
Well, if
in
they're
the...
still married.
But she's now married to the rebellion.
But they're still married too.
I don't know. I think he's okay.
Okay, so here's what I kind of have heard. That Davo took over what you could call the galactic version of CNN. Yeah, I mean, there was a line spoken about him meeting the Grand Vizier, and it was kind of like a leftover, what was that about? And they're saying he had some rebel sympathies that even Mon knew about. When she makes her speech, Davo, being in charge of the galactic version of CNN, was supposed to refuse to cut the feed. It is strongly believed that Davo ended up in jail as kind of fallout for not cutting the feed, and that Perrin, well, in this unfilmed scene, that, obviously that these two are safe and they're both socially ostracized and are just finding comfort in each other with their rebellious spouses.
That's kind of what I predicted, that maybe Davo had kind of, when Mon Mothma did what she did, they looked more into her, and then, oh, you've been keeping some banking records secret or messing with them, and now you're going to be arrested for that, so...
But the interesting thing is that Davo was supposed to be refusing to cut the feed, and that gets him into trouble. And this isn't just like a made-up fantasy either,
Okay.
because Dan and Tony Gilroy actually did a long interview, and they talk about it. That this was actually not a deleted scene or anything like that, but it was actually a plot point that they had discussed for him. To go, well, what do we do with Davos Skolden? Well, and this was the plan that just never fully
Came to
made
fruition.
it into, yeah. So it's interesting because the writers had this idea, and then either due to time or different choices, they decided to not include it. I find that very interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, I kind of just assumed he would be the type who would do whatever he wanted to do or needed to do for money, and he didn't really have any...
But at the same time, he knows where Mon's money is going.
He does. You got a fair
He
point.
could cut it off. He could get her in trouble. He could blackmail her himself.
Yeah.
He didn't do any of those things. Instead, the only blackmail was coming from her friend.
Well, he did have the interesting arranged marriage thing going on. He did want his son to marry into the family, and, so he wasn't blackmailing her. Well, at that point, he has a lot to lose, too, if
Well,
Mon
at that
Mothma
point,
goes down,
he
right?
didn't know what the money was getting used for, which he
Yeah.
could have figured out after the fact.
Yeah, I'm just saying, he would lose a lot if all of a sudden the Mothmas were found out to be this terrible family, and he married his son into them. So,
Right, he married into prestige, into
Yeah,
an old
exactly.
family, and he probably really appreciated that, but as somebody who wants to be that culture, who wants to be not new money, but old money, maybe he agreed with a lot of Mon's principles.
maybe.
Maybe more of the Chandrilan way, and maybe he did really truly believe that the Empire's galaxy wasn't the best way to do things. So I could actually see him becoming sympathetic to the rebellion and deciding, you know what, we're going to let Mon talk.
It's interesting that he owned like the broadcasting. I didn't get that sense that he was like. I thought he was
But just at some point he took over it.
okay.
And it was like, yeah, Mon's thing stays on the air. I said so.
All right.
Maybe he saw how the Empire was using political coverage and decided, I could do that.
Good job, Davo. You died a hero, or you didn't die that we know of.
We don't know what happened.
He got arrested.
He's in Narcana as well.
He probably is. That's the funny thing.
Yes, he's in a Narcana facility sharing a cell with Kino Loy.
Oh my God, that's how they could have connected it.
It's all circle. What?
Yeah.
It's poetry, it rhymes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you do it.
Yeah.
But I actually found it fun, and I'm going to probably watch more of that interview because it was an hour and such long, and I was at work today.
Oh,
so,
it was today, huh? Or yesterday?
Well,
yeah.
It came out a bit ago, this interview, but I didn't know it existed. It does make me curious, although, what are these other drop plot points? And I'd like to leave this to the comment section, honestly. What other plot points do you think were unfinished, possibly, in Andor? That you could see, like, we never got the story about why Perrin ended up with Davos' wife.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I think that was kind of self-explanatory where if Mon goes down or Mon does what she does, then Davo goes down because of his association.
But yet Perrin didn't go down and she didn't go down and the kids are fine. Like, I want to know, and I think that's something our comment section could do for us. What are some plot points that you think were possibly unresolved that you would like the answer to? Whether they be a small one, like, I want to know what Mon's daughter thinks of her after what she did in the Senate.
Do they ever
reconnect?
Kind of rekindle their
after
mother-daughter
the
relationship?
war? Does she come to her mother and go, you know what? You were right, Mom.
Yeah,
is there a rekindling, or does she run farther from her? Yeah, or does she run further from her mother because of everything that's happened? Does her mother ostracizing her maybe ruin her spot in society and make her resent her forever? I want to know what other plot points we think are out there that we'd like an answer to. Obviously, there's whatever happened to Bix. Did she ever find out exactly what happened to Cassian?
I think I think they get back to her and tell her what happened.
I assume Vel will tell.
Yeah.
Vel was, as far as we know, not involved in the Scarif.
No, she wasn't. We don't. No. I mean, we wouldn't have seen her because she wasn't, wouldn't be in Rogue One because of obviously reasons, but anyway.
But there were small plot points that I think would be very interesting to find an answer to. What happened to Clea afterwards? How much did she have to put herself back together? There are little plot points, and I want to know what plot points are you looking for, like a resolution to, or what do you think happened to some of these characters?
Yeah, sounds like fun. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news. And let's talk some Star Wars. And so, until next time, thanks for watching.